The Boston Bruins are indeed the NHL's best team halfway through the season. They beat the Sharks 4-2. We'll talk about all that and more after this. But first, if you want to be a part of the show and Teal together with us, come join the conversation and check out us across all the social media platforms, that being the YouTube chat, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, TikTok, all that and more at tealtownusa.com. And if you like what you see, drop us a line over at Venmo at tealtownusa. That's always appreciated. Your tax dollars hard at work. I am pleased to be joined by Mr. Puck Guy, Erik. I don't know what to say at this point. We're halfway
With that, good night, everyone. We're halfway through the season. We are at loss for words, for sure.
Right? I mean, 41 games through, we are officially at this halfway point of the season, and the Sharks somehow look worse than they did last year. And, we've got some concerning storylines coming out of the team insofar as ways the prospects have been handled, question marks on, what the system is actually filtering up into the NHL team and where the Barracuda are at, quite frankly, as well. Just all around some very concerning narratives coming out of the team. And I think first it starts with this play on ice, and the Bruins just coming out and just dominating from the first frame on. Brad Marchand getting his 12th goal of the season, McAvoy and Bergeron getting the assist there, but that comes a minute and 3 seconds in. Again, another trend that we continue to see this team give up goals within the span of 2 minutes in the opening frame or opening part of a period. Erik, is it just simple as depth of Boston greater than depth of San Jose, or is it also kind of maybe a lack of hunger overall from a team? I'm just, again, I don't know what to say at this point that hasn't already been said.
It's true, and I think I've had this conversation with Ian, even with AJ a little bit. It's like, what else can you say about this team going through these mistakes over and over again? I mean, 63 seconds in, you let in Marchand with probably the of all the nicer first minute goals that happened against the Sharks, that one was pretty nice.
Backhand going through 3 Sharks defenders in the zone. It looked like Keystone Cops.
Well, and then you see Smith making it 2-0. I know I'm jumping the gun here, but you make it 2-0 and you're thinking, oh crap, is it going to be this Nashville game all over again like it was last year?
Craig Smith getting his second on the season with Fogliano and Coyle getting the assist there on that one, coming in at 5:32 in that first.
It's just, and hate to say it because I know he's a fan favorite and everything, but Mario Ferraro did not have a good game tonight. And Harrington was also part of that breakdown and turnover on that play. But, dude, you can't have those. You got to be better. And that's where the defense, hurts your goaltending, because those are some of the things that they should be better at. It hurts. It's not a pretty one to go, and that's probably where maybe Ryan Merkley's thinking, you're telling me I can't make this team? No, you're telling me I can't be on this team right now?
Yeah, exactly. So hence, get me out of here. Logan Couture would make it a little interesting, getting a goal about a minute and 35 seconds later at 6:57. His 15th on the season, Barabanov and Vlasic with the assists. And again, showing a little bit of life, but still territorially and just, I think for momentum's sake, Boston came out and they throttled them. You looked at the shots on goal, 12-6 in that first period. The Sharks did get a goal, but maybe a little bit of a lucky redirect from Couture, because while Couture did angle the stick, he just happened to have his stick laying out in the lane, and really whoever set up that pass, that being Barabanov, doing a really good job.
Yep.
Finding him there and putting it on the tape. Literally, Logan just had to angle his stick, and that was it.
Barbie's finding his game all right. I think he's played really well these last. Since the Dallas game, where he got a goal, he drew a penalty. I don't think he had anything really to show for Chicago-wise, if I recall correctly. But he got that opening goal Friday night against Anaheim. Then tonight he gets, he sets up Couture. He's finding his spots, and he can continuously get better and better. He's going to be a nice trade asset come March, unfortunately.
Yeah. I just don't know where this team starts to pick up the pieces and tries to make a semblance of a shift organizationally back to winning ways. I don't know how that's going to occur right now with the roster as constructed, and with the moves that have come so far. And we'll get into it a little bit more organizationally after the game's over. But a microcosm of the Sharks' woes in that first period of this half of the season for sure. Getting come out and throttled early on, a barrage of shots being let in on Reimer, the defense collapsing in and just not picking up their assignments in their defensive zones, still looking like they don't know where they should be defensively positioning when an opposing team has it in their end. You can start.
You can't talk. That's the toughest part. But go ahead, man.
Yeah, we could go on about coaching. We could go on about personnel. But at this point, it's got to be the players that are there executing, and they're just not. They're just not able to execute. Just not able to execute at a fine enough rate, to give themselves a shot. In that second period, Mario Ferraro would get the team on the board, but it came 14:55 in the second. And, just as you're starting to get a little bit of good feelings, okay, the score is tied, David Pastrnak comes in 2 minutes later and scores his 28th of the season, with Marchand and McAvoy getting the assists on the power play.
Yeah, about that power play, though. There's a holding call, which, okay, sure, whatever. Then Foligno takes a run at somebody, and then Gadjevich comes over and says, why I ought it. And then Gadjevich's helmet comes off. I don't think it just fell off. And if judging, by what we saw Friday night in Anaheim, if you rip a player's helmet off, it's a penalty. And even Jonathan Becker said it to me on Twitter too. It's like, hey, isn't that ripping a helmet's off a penalty?
Right. And I think on that particular sequence, I was surprised that it just didn't even out. Just give the roughing and give the initial slash and call it even. But instead, the third best power play in the NHL, fourth best power play in the NHL comes out and puts on a clinic on how to cross ice. And again, you give Pastrnak any kind of time and space in front of the net, and it's game over.
that line had, what, 7 points tonight between Bergeron, Marchand, and Pastrnak. You know, they there's something special there, and that's why Bergeron stayed with the Bruins for at least another year. This team is looking damn right special, and they've gotten everything going for them. You talk about their power play. Well, it's not the least of which the number one PK. I mean, outside the Sharks, it's been basically them and Boston, going back and forth on the PK there. And but they just have a solid lineup, solid depth pieces that know what they're supposed to be doing on hand. And so be it. That's where.
And you throw David Krejci back into the mix, right?
Yeah, why not, right? Oh no.
Exactly. And that team looks like it's poised to have at least one more run in the Bergeron era for sure. But again, I don't know how you walk away from Pastrnak if they haven't gotten a deal done. I mean, he just, to me, that's the player that they had been looking for, that goal scorer that had a little bit of grit, that had a little bit of lack of a better term, piss and vinegar in the game, but could score at an elite clip. And then you put him together with Marchand and with Bergeron, and it's the perfection line for a reason. I mean, you've got your great two-way centerman, you've got your shit disturber, and you got your sniper all together, and they really, I mean, just they could win a Stanley Cup. I mean, that line is a number one line for a Stanley Cup winner in my
Absolutely, absolutely. Boston is like just so well tuned. Jim Montgomery, hats off to you. I mean,
major
you're
kudos for getting his life back on track.
Absolutely, and he is halfway to, in my opinion, he's halfway to a Jack Adams.
For sure. If Boston finishes the way that they have started this season at just a complete tear with, let's say, a 20-point lead in their division, I don't see how you could have anybody else but Jim getting the Jack Adams, and especially it being a good story with the way in which he's dealt with sobriety, and the way in which he's addressed it, and brought full light on into his own life, and allowing just allowing for a fine tooth comb to be run across his life, and just again being a role model of how you can redeem yourself, and with a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, and therapy, AA meetings, what have you,
everything. I mean,
but again, a good life story. So has them playing at an incredible clip, breathing new life into that top line. They would score again in that third period. David Pastrnak would get his 29th of the season, with Bergeron and Marchand getting the assists, that coming in 9 minutes in the third. But Jerry, thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for great Sharks coverage as usual. We appreciate you.
Jerry, we love you, buddy. Thank you so much for the donation. I was going to say, but we can go back to the goal that almost made it 4-2, but got called back.
This one, I was kind of holding my breath as to the possession going through the blue line once again, because with the way it was yesterday and the way in which I interpreted it, I'm like, okay, I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, the player bringing it through doesn't look like he's got full possession there, but did the far side player get back quick enough before he started to possess the puck? So I'm looking at it from that perspective rather than looking it up as a tag up situation, right? Because this one was one of those tag up situations. So again, a little different, but good on the Sharks for not being trigger shy, and initiating the review and able to take back the goal. But really, a tourniquet on a bleeding wound at that point. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, because the Sharks had really kind of used that as their momentum swing with that non-goal, and they just kept bringing out, chances after chances. Not all of them were going in, and to kind of lean back to it a little bit, they kind of had Boston on the ropes a little bit in that second period, where they had their defensemen out for like at least 3.5 minutes at one time. They kept getting icing call after icing call and just couldn't get anything on there. But then that third, just just kept coming on strong with the. I mean, the third they were outshot 15-7.
But it didn't feel very dangerous, right? It didn't feel like the Sharks were putting on 15 goals. It looked like every time the Sharks had a little bit of sustained momentum, Boston would put a good line, a good shift or two together to kind of break it up. Put a high danger chance on Reimer. They were able to cash in with 1 goal in that period. Could have made it 2 very easily if Pasta's able to get that empty netter there. So again, the depth just outclassing the Sharks in that final frame.
Yeah.
And the Sharks not doing themselves any favors trying to come back against a Boston team that, again, firing on all cylinders, I don't think is saying enough with how good a run that they're on. But nonetheless, it's firing on all cylinders. 3 stars of your game tonight would be David Pastrnak, number 1, Brad Marchand, number 2, and Patrice Bergeron, number 3.
No love for Linus Ullmark. Interesting. I mean, that goaltender has been phenomenal. I think he's got an under 2 goals against. It might have gone up just a little bit tonight, but I mean,
.933 save percentage tonight.
22-1-1, Landy. Holy crap! In the where goaltending has gone up big time in this league the last couple of years, to have a goaltender that's under 2, it is. I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean that's we talk about handing out the hardware since we're at the halfway point. Ullmark's got to be up there for the Vezina for sure in this one, but solid goaltending from Ullmark. Of course, Swayman's been in there for Boston as well. You get good goal scoring from your top line, good depth. They have all the marks to go deep, and you're doing this in a
I think
not just a conference,
division, toughest division in arguably the tougher conference this year.
Yeah.
With Toronto and with Florida and with Tampa Bay. I mean, to lead that division by the margin that they are, I think it's 11 points now. They lead their division, and we're 41 games through. I mean, that's dominant. I mean, like that reminds me of that Washington Capitals run. I don't remember which one it was. It was maybe, I want to say 20.
Right before they won it all, I think they were like the President's Trophy winners.
Yeah, that's what this kind of reminds me of. Very, very machine-like. You know what I mean? It's a system that works well defensively. I think it puts their goaltender in a position to not have to make a lot of acrobatic saves. So as good as Linus is doing, he's also aided by a very good system around him. He's able to stand up to shots. He's able to front shots very easily. He's able to come out and feel that he can come out to the edge of the blue paint and to challenge and not feel like he's got to stay back to bail out his guys. The defense, I mean, led by McAvoy for sure, but all in all, just very balanced. From pair to pair to pair. There, none of them, like I said, outside of McAvoy, who's a special player, but the rest of the collection of defensemen are really solid. I'd say 2-3 type players. So
Yeah.
it's a team, it's a defensive core that's comprised mostly of 2-3 type defensemen, 1 through 6. What barring number 1 being he's definitely a first pair defenseman, all world kind of offensive defenseman for sure. And again, just very impressed with the balance 1 through 6, and very impressed with the balance on each forward line as well. Again, not a lot of drop off when you go from line to line to line. And they all play the same way. They all play that kind of downhill, down heavy type. It reminds me of a Western type game, to be quite honest with you. It reminds me of a Western Conference team, or they look more like a Western Conference team than an Eastern Conference team. In my mind, I always think of the East as skilled, fast, very much about the East-West kind of play, and credit to them. Very much a meat and potato style, and really want to grind you down low, and that's how they make their bones.
And dominant in the West too. I think they're now 14-1-2 in the Western Conference against the Western Conference. And you look at what I was trying to pull it up really quick. They have 4 regulation losses. This team lost to the Arizona Coyotes somehow. I mean, they just have those occasional hiccups, and it's not like the other teams that are like the top 11 in the NHL. The other ones that are in the Atlantic with Toronto. I mean, not having a horrible season. They're only 24-9-7. They're 4th best in the league, and they're 11 points behind the Bruins, for crying out loud. You talk about Tampa, who's the 3-time Stanley Cup finalist, 2-time champion. They're struggling at 49 points against this team. It just goes to show how dominant Boston has really looked this year, and the pieces, like we said, are together. Now, Landy, putting that in as a Sharks standpoint, they didn't play horrible today, but they just kept making those same weird mistakes over and over again that, just make you frustrated.
Yeah, and I think that's primarily where a lot of the lack of being able to explain the team, a lack of enthusiasm from our parts at nights, because it is the same issues time and time and time again.
Yeah.
And I think we'll now kind of shift more towards the philosophy end of the game for sure. I think first being, let's talk about the moves that were made in the off season for shoring up this defense and trying to add some depth to it. You look at the pieces that were added tonight, Benning and Harrington, not inspiring play at all. You've got Erik Karlsson, who's trying to do everything and more. I mean, he logs 30 minutes of ice time tonight.
His streak comes to an end.
Exactly. So far, the verdict on Mike Grier has not been so great. And now questions about the prospects and the system in which they're in, and now wanting a key prospect, a really important piece to the Sharks trying to reset on the fly, asking for a trade out and saying, hey, look, this organization is not very deep on the NHL roster. I'm doing a lion's share of the offensive work for the AHL team, put together, I'd say, a decent campaign, but it's now I don't see a path forward with this team. And
I think, honestly, Landy, it's got to be torn down a little bit more than it already has. And I think we're seeing that happening right now. We have to have an honest look at what we have and see what we can do with it. I was listening to Morning Tide with Ted Ramey this morning. It's like, would you really want this on the kids right now? And it's tough for me to say because it's like I want these kids up here because I know they're ready to get the bite going. At the same time, it's like you don't want them near this mess. But you also have to wonder if these kids are like, dude, I feel like I can help this team out. You look at Logan Couture, who are her typical line mates, I think, going in the last few minutes of this game. Matt Nieto and Oscar Lindblom.
Yeah, I mean,
You,
look
you
at
don't think you could put Eklund and Bordelot up there and make it much better?
or Harrington. I mean, you don't think that a guy like Ryan Merkley is better than Scott Harrington?
Well, I mean, for Merkley, I'll say his defensive woes have been a little sus with the CUDA this year. But yeah, I mean, you almost look at it as like, okay, maybe they already had it in mind that maybe Merkley wasn't in the case, so that's why they signed Matt Benning to a 4-year deal to be that guy. I mean, Benning has had some offensively good streaks going on. I think one of them got snapped tonight, but at the same time, Ferraro, and I see, according to Coach Quinn, he was quote unquote sick as a dog earlier today, but he played on through it. But Ferraro had a rough night outside that goal. Harrington has a rough night. Ian, whenever I mean, you and me, when we've done this show with Ian, what's the one thing he said about Matt Benning? Matt Benning sucks. You know, it's tough, and you have Shimmick injured with a concussion, and so the defense hasn't been as great.
Yeah, and again, I just how much worse could Ryan Merkley be than Scott Harrington? You know what I mean? Like that. Like if we just look at tonight's lineup, right? And just say these are the collection of players that you got. I mean, it seems like there should be better options in the organization than what has been put out there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
true, but see, and I go back and forth with this. It's okay for the kids to have some seasoning in there. You don't want them in this environment. At the same time, like I said, you can have them be like, hey, we want to get in there. We want to show what we got. But again, what are you going for this season? Is maybe to compete for a playoff spot if you're in the Sharks organization. Let's be honest here, though.
The way that the roster is constructed, Eric, to me suggests more along the lines of we're trying to get a first overall pick, or at least the moves around this roster and the way in which it's constructed looks more like a contender for a higher draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, you would, if you're on Team Tank, of course you're excited and hoping for that, but at the same time, it's like, dear God. I mean, you want to see what you have in the prospect pool, whether it's in the AHL with Coe, Gushin, Bordelot, Eklund, or you can go with LaRoque playing in WHL Victoria, or even Ben Gaudreau, who's just coming off a gold medal with at the World Juniors for Canada.
And I'm even thinking more even existential on this, Eric. I mean, like John McCarthy, going back to the John McCarthy hire, he had no previous coaching experience. I mean,
head coaching experience.
Head coaching experience. Is that the guy that you want leading the development of players in which you're banking a lot of the future success of the organization on? Or would you rather go out and find the next hotshot WHL or QMJHL or CHL, somebody at least coming with the pedigree of developing prospects, or heck, even in the college ranks? I mean, that one to me was just added a layer of ambiguity to what the team was trying to achieve, and leaving the fates of some of these prospects in, a coach that hadn't had a lot of experience driving a development system.
Well, it's
It's
tough
tough because, right, I
because
mean, we like John McCarthy, right? We like,
yeah.
him as a person, as a player, what he's gone through, how he's how he's developed, and just the kind of person that he is. But was this head coaching position thrust on him too early? You know what I mean? It's not that he's not good for the job, but is it the right time for him to get that job?
Well, I'll be honest, it shouldn't be his job because this move should to replace Sommer should have happened at least 10, 15 years ago. I mean, you can give all the credit you want to, oh, Kevin LeBanc, oh, Logan Couture, oh, Joe Pavelski. Pavs was with the minor leagues for like maybe a month and a half before he got his call up. Logan played like maybe like 20 some odd games before he got called up. Tomas Hertl was briefly up and down with the Worcester Sharks. Tell me somebody else who he was with. Timo Meyer, okay, you got Timo, but I mean, you kind of saw that was due, and I used this.
I will say Barclay Goodrow. I would give Sommer some credit with Barclay Goodrow, because I think the way in which he, handled his demotion, the way in which he kind of, I was going to say nursemaided him through that portion of his career, but, really an awkward phase in his development, right, where he gets the little bit of coffee call up in the NHL and then, starts in the AHL the next year. So, I'll say that Sommer has had a few bright spots here and there, but overall, the spotty at best track record developing prospects.
Yeah, developing prospects, more so having a winning attitude, which I think is very paramount with this organization now. That and I think that's what we all have. And yeah, there were lofty expectations going into the season for the Barracuda, but I don't think they were going to be that good. And it doesn't. Again, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but the defensively for the CUDA, I don't think they were expecting to get hit by an injury bug or a call up bug for the Sharks. And that's the tough part, is that defensively, both the Sharks and the CUDA have had their defensive struggles. You can throw that on some of the goaltending too, so, and it's tough. And Reimer hasn't been the Reimer as of last year. I remember coming on doing After Darks thinking, what, Reimer could be an all-star in Vegas, in 2022 because he had played so well. Now, to be blunt, he's a good goaltender and he's getting more play because he's not Kakko Kakkonen.
Yep. And Kaapo Kakkonen not showing not having a lot of confidence right now, and I think the confidence in him being a number one is starting to dwindle every outing. It seems like he's just not able to put together a consistent game. Leaves a lot of questions. Leaves a lot of questions in net, for sure. I mean, the questions are abound throughout the organization, so much so that they put in a waiver claim for Michael Eissamontt out of Winnipeg. So showing that the team has such a lack of depth that you've got to go out and you've got to make a waiver claim. To me, a waiver claim very much signals you're dealing from a strength of, dealing from a place of weakness and not a place of strength when you've got to go in and make a claim like that. I mean, I'm happy that we've got this player, joining the team, and it'll be interesting to see what position he actually takes, or if he is just used as the 13th forward. but you've got you've got a player in Oscar Lindbaum who's seemingly playing better,
Slowly improving.
slowly improving. But has he shown enough to garner more starts, or would you want to have this Michael Eismont take a
Now, let
take
me
a
hold
fly
you
out?
there
Okay,
because I got Kevin. We talked about this before to get the actual pronunciation. I don't know if you caught it beforehand, but let me make sure I get it for you. So Kevin, how do you pronounce it? It's Mikey. Asimont. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Azimol. Okay,
Asimont. The T is what did he say here? He said that the T
he sounds French
is
Canadian.
not silent. So,
Let's
Kevin,
see
thank you.
where
Uh,
he
so,
hails.
so,
Oh, Littleton, Colorado.
oh yeah, he's totally French, dude.
All right. Well,
uh,
okay.
that good old French Canadian village of Littleton, Colorado. With the Jets organization, you know, sorry.
No,
Uh,
I'm smiling here, like grinning like a fool too, because it's like, wow, the hell do you get that from that spelling? But
so he's played 19 games with the Jets this season, scoring a goal and 4 assists with a +5 rating. He's also been with the Manitoba Moose with 2 goals, 7 assists, and 27 penalty minutes.
in 9 games,
Yeah. To which I understand. Well, who was the guy from Nashville that everybody was like, oh, the Sharks should go out and claim him. The Sharks should go out and claim him. Or it was like early in December, and we picked this guy up.
right?
What? He took the warm up tonight apparently, but he didn't get in for the game just yet.
Yeah. Again, kind of raising a little bit of eyebrows on what exactly the Sharks are thinking behind this waiver claim. Kevin kind of chiming in, not thinking that he's more than an AHLer. And you can see bearing out his stats. I mean, he's played okay, but has there been other players within the Sharks organization deserving of a call up more so than him?
Yeah.
But I think it kind of goes to show you where the organization's thinking about keeping those kids just intact and leaving them be.
And that's fine as long as they don't get antsy and itchy like I think Merkley was in that sense. So.
And it's tough for Merkley. I mean, because you're talking about a guy who played 39 games in the NHL. I mean, that's half of a season. So, you'd think after. I mean, I don't know. I would have said 10 or 15 games in one season would be a good outing for a rookie, just trying to break it in. But 39 games, I mean, that's again almost half a schedule's worth of games.
True.
And
but the struggle for his play, there were some defensive breakdowns. There was did the controller lose batteries? There was also the stick handling, and then we're running out of room. The quick decisions weren't happening still. And I think that's what the Sharks were hoping to get out of him, whether it was offensively or defensively, and hoping that would come out, and get out of his game. And it wasn't,
Yeah. Yep. So now we are where we're at now with Ryan Merkley requesting a trade. I've seen some rumbles about, maybe a problem for problem type, a type of a move. First thing I thought was Puljujarvi. Would you do a Puljujarvi for Merkley swap? Because we know how much Edmonton needs right-handed defensemen, and I could see maybe a potential fit there. A problem for problem type trade. I don't know that Edmonton would want to do that because I still think that Holland is kind of high on him, and his asking price from everything that we've read has been exorbitantly high, more so than a mid first round type pick that Merkley is. So I don't know if there's something to be had there. I've also heard, maybe Chicago coming out and doing some kind of like for like trade. But it sounds like from everything that I've heard that Gruer's trying to honor the request and is looking for, some potential solution to this particular issue, because right now the player's not playing. And
what a segue.
Well, what's happening over with the Barracuda?
Well, they were in Coachella Valley tonight, taking on the Coachella Valley Firebirds, and got shut out 4-0 in this one. Former Barracuda Alexander True had a goal in this one, but Coachella Valley is just you hate to be a bad pun, but they're fire right now. I mean, 22-6-3-0 on the campaign. They are looking very nicely. For the Barracuda, their winning streak ends at 2 after losing 8 in a row. Makaniemi was in this one, but they'll have a chance for redemption on I think it's Tuesday night when they play in Coachella one more time, and then it's a beginning of the back-to-backs where they'll head down to your neck of the woods and taking on the Gulls next Wednesday. So, and if you want more of that, Ian Reed will be on the Pucknologist tomorrow with Jerk and AJ. So he'll be breaking down the CUDA and their good things and their bad things. And, as Ian would say, when the Barracuda do bad, it's bad. Back to you, Landy.
And with that, I think we'll start to wrap this up. In case you missed us or you want to check us out again, like, subscribe, smash those buttons on the YouTube Rewind. Of course, we're also across a lot of different podcatchers of choice, that being the Apple Podcast Store, the Google Play Store. You've got SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, Audacity, and even the website works too.
Absolutely.
Check us out at tealtownusa.com for all of the news, editorials, and where you can find the After Darks as well. So with that, Puckeye, what are your final thoughts and where the people can find you?
It feels weird being on this side of the show here. It's weird, but glad to help you out, buddy. Halfway through, this team is not great. Last year, I want to say they were close to being 21 wins, and we're still vying for a wild card spot. Now, Sharks wise, I guess we start playing Tankathon pretty soon. We're the 5th worst team in the league right now, and
sucking hard for Boudard.
All I'm gonna say is I just did Tankathon one time, and the Sharks won.
Hey,
just saying.
I like those odds.
I don't know what better odds would you rather have? The ones to win Mega Millions for over $1 billion on Monday, or the Sharks to land Bedard? I don't know. Well, I'm at Puckeye14 on the Twitter and the Instagram, and back to you, Landy.
$1 billion. As far as where you can find me, it's at Erik Landy across all the social media garbage. Some final thoughts. Sharks need to figure out a direction. Well, I mean, they've got a direction that they're going in, but the Sharks need to figure.
Yikes!
Need to figure a new game plan out for how to steer this franchise out of the tailspin that it's been pointing its nose in so far. We've got half a season to start to clean this up. Just start with the little things and go from there. But Erik, I'll let you take it out.
Hey, Landy, all the best to you, my friend. Happy New Year to everyone out there. Hey, Pucknologist, Sunday night, 7 p.m. Recap the week that was in Sharks hockey with AJ Jerk plus Ian Reed. We'll check in and tell you how wonderful the CUDA has been this season, and probably a first half review, because that's what we do around here. So, hey, thanks for watching. Appreciate you. We'll be back after Darkwise Tuesday night following the Sharks' inaugural trip to Tempe. as they take on the Desert Dogs at Mullet Arena. That's a 6 o'clock start, so we'll be on roughly around 8:30 on Tuesday night. So until then, thanks for watching. Keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you for Technologist Sunday and After Dark on Tuesday. Good night, everyone.